Shared space roads, dangerous and discriminatory. Shared space takes away controlled crossings, which blind people use to cross the road. Courtesy crossings are used instead, which have no controls to help a blind person cross the road. Drivers are under no obligation to stop. Right, so the policeman waved us on, so they've just waved us. Again, you wouldn't know if that communication was happening because you can't see him. Yeah. Shared space also takes the curbs away, or uses very low curbs which are not safe for blind people to independently navigate the town centres. Take away the curb and you take away their freedom. Increasingly, reports from across the UK were showing that blind and disabled people were simply not being listened to during consultations for new schemes, and they were literally being designed out at the High Street, in Kirkintilloch, in Cirencester, in Norwich, in Oxford, in Hackbridge, in Leicester, in Bath, in Wakefield, in Reading, in Coventry, in Tolworth Greenway, in Swindon, in Southend-on-Sea, in Kinross, in Poynton, in Blackpool, in Warwick, in Lewes, in Preston, in Bexleyheath, in Gloucester, in Grimsby and in Leek. And this is how it's affected one guide dog user in Preston.
What was supposed to be a step towards accessibility and aesthetics for Preston has been a step backwards for Julie. It was an encounter with a car whilst attempting to cross a road that crushed her confidence altogether.
He just pulled up apparently, and he was sitting in the car, signalling through the window for me to go across. He got out the car and he said, "I'm telling you to cross the road." I said, "Well, I'm sorry." And I pointed to my dog. And I said, "It's a guide dog." Well, he didn't give me time to explain. He just got back into the car, slammed the door, and he stormed off. I felt dreadful.
Horrific trip accidents have been occurring in schemes where low invisible curbs have been included in the design, including Grimsby, Pontypridd, Hereford, Hanley, Cheltenham, and in Cirencester. And this is Ollie's story of the problems he's experienced in the scheme.
Ollie Stevenson is trying to navigate his way around Cirencester's newly paved marketplace.
Well, I nearly did trip over that. Careful. This is a bell. We've tripped over this before, haven't we, Yorkie? Oh, there isn't a curb. Oh, can't count the times. I fell on my knees once and cut both the knees and bruised them badly. And I've tripped over the bell. I've tripped coming off the road on up a small curb which I didn't recognise. Yeah, many times.
Schemes are U-turning across the UK, with crossings going back into the High Street. In Grimsby, in Corby, in Blackpool, in Warwick, in Hackbridge, in Coventry, in Kinross, in Julian Road in Bath, in Dunstable, and they have agreed to put back control crossings back into Tolworth Greenway and more changes to the cab stand junction in Portishead. Successful legal action has been taken on curb heights.
A woman who is blind has won a landmark ruling against the height of new roadside curbs in Lisburn. Joanna Toner began legal proceedings fearing that blind and partially sighted people were in danger of being hit by traffic because the curbs were lowered. A judge at the High Court ruled that Lisburn and Castlereagh City Council had failed to ensure equality for disabled people in the multi-million-pound regeneration scheme. Council representatives are now expected to ensure the process is subjected to a full equality impact assessment.
I'm absolutely delighted because the implications for other disabled people and other shared schemes across the whole country is going to be immense, and that's something that we've definitely been fighting for a long time. It's just dangerous to remove the curbs and to let blind and partially sighted people mix with traffic.
Research has also shown that misinformation has been promoted about shared space road design. Manual for Streets 2 stated that Julian Road in Bath scheme had 9 serious accidents, including 1 death, 3 years before the scheme was implemented. However, there was only ever 1 serious accident during this period. The scheme was also used as best practice for road safety in the Civic Voice Street Design for All document that was published in 2014. However, it was actually ripped up in 2012 and replaced by zebra crossings. Poynton scheme is often promoted as having 16 empty shops out of 32 in the High Street, as can be heard here by the designer of the scheme during a presentation on shared space.
Spent time in the middle of Poynton, and the result was that the High Street, of course, was dying, 16 empty shops out of 32. We produced a master plan for the town.
This master plan actually showed that only 6 shops were vacant and stated that there were very few vacant units in the High Street. A site visit to Poynton actually revealed there were over 80 shops present. There have also been tragic deaths in shared space roads. A partially sighted pensioner in Coventry was killed in shared space in 2012. The scheme was said to have been so confusing, an accident was bound to have happened. Other vulnerable people have been killed in shared space. 3-year-old Clinton Pringle was killed in Jersey in 2016 by a careless driver on shared space. The judge criticised the road layout in the case, with changes to the road layout recommended in the inquest into Clinton Pringle's death. Lord Chris Holmes blogged about shared space in 2015 and questioned what would happen if tankers and toddlers shared the same space on the road. In the same year, he called for shared space to be halted. Guide dogs have also asked for shared space to be halted, as well as the RNIB. The National Federation of the Blind of the UK has asked several times for schemes to be halted. In August 2016, a national inquiry into shared space was launched by the Women and Equalities Committee. Evidence given on the 7th of December 2016 clearly indicated that shared space schemes were not inclusively designed.
I think one thing in the review today is clear that actually if we look at evidence of whether those schemes have created inclusive environments, that evidence is very hard to find.
In April of this year, the Women and Equalities Committee called for an immediate halt to shared space design. And this is how the news broke in Scotland.
They said all schemes must be accessible to everyone, and that means controlled crossings and pavement curbs, something we have been talking about for a long, long time. Now, this report is so strong that it cannot be ignored.
It would be greatly appreciated if the Department of Transport would not only just read the report, but urgently act on its recommendations made on shared space, by making a start to ensure that all new schemes retain standard height curbs and control crossings, to ensure that pedestrians do not have to mix with vehicles or cyclists, which is already in guidance adopted by the Department of Transport. We would also ask for the Department of Transport to embrace the UN International Day for Persons with Disabilities and incorporate all the recommendations made by the Women and Equalities Select Committee into the draft Accessibility Action Plan to make the UK truly accessible for all.